The Goat House is back with NFL Power Rankings heading into Week 17 of the NFL season, ranking every single NFL team from 32 to 1 every single week. Only a couple more weeks of these, but we'll have playoff team rankings as well as full playoff coverage as well. But let's jump into these rankings. Remaining at 32 is the New York Giants, as they are clearly the worst team in football right now, so they for sure belong there. Titans going to go down 4 spots to number 31. Extremely embarrassing, disappointing, down 38-7 at one point to the Colts, just getting destroyed that much. I know they came back. The Colts were kind of coasting the victory. Titans are belonging as the second worst team in football right now. 30, the Jags, a winnable game they couldn't pull off. 30 versus 31 this week, Jags versus Titans. 29, the Bears are very cold right now, so remaining at 29. The Raiders go up 3 spots after beating the Jags. Not the most impressive thing, but it's pretty easy to move up around these parts of the power rankings if you just win. Patriots didn't even win, but they put up a fight with the Bills. Better than the teams below them, so they'll be up a spot to 27. 26 is going to be the Browns. Yeah, not playing the best football right now, but they actually do have some quality wins, unlike some of these other teams. They're at 26, down a spot. 25, the Jets go down a spot. Probably a winnable game for them. The Saints down a spot to 24. And then the Panthers will go up 3 spots after beating the Cardinals in overtime. Very much impressed with their offense in that game. And there's the Cardinals. And yes, the Panthers beat them head-to-head, but overall, who's had the better season? It's the Cardinals, so slightly above the Panthers there, down 3 spots to 22. They weren't running the ball enough early in this game. They got down by so much. I mean, the Panthers could not stop James Conner. It was unfortunate he got injured, but they would have just ran even more early. I don't think they would have been down the amount that they were down by. 21, the Niners, yes, extremely beat up, but extremely disappointing. A couple winnable games they could not pull off, more than a couple. Purdy's been a little disappointing lately. So yeah, just a disappointing one against the Dolphins, and they find themselves dropping 4 spots to 21. The Colts up a spot. Yeah, for the most part, dominated the Titans in that game. They can't coast like that. They do that against a decent team even. They might blow it and lose, but still, for the most part, impressive in that game. The Cowboys are playing some good football right now. They're a threat. Obviously, they're not going to make the playoffs, but they're a threat against any team. They beat a very hot Buccaneers team. They're playing much better on both sides of the ball, especially defense. So impressed with the Cowboys right now. They're up 3 spots to number 19. Number 18, the Falcons up 2 spots, dominating win against the Giants. We want to see more, obviously, but defense is playing better football, and they get a win with Penix in there for the first time. 17, the Bengals go up a spot. Massive game this week against Denver Broncos. Weekly pick show will be a little bit earlier this week. It'll be earlier on Tuesday, normally every Tuesday night. Kind of getting a jump on everything, as you can tell by this video going up tonight. Because the Christmas game's kind of forcing some videos early. But we'll have that picks video up. It'll be the next upload, and be very curious to see who we all pick between the Bengals and the Broncos. That is a big, big-time game. The Bengals are starting to win. Are they playing a whole lot better, though? Still a little bit of a question. Still a little sloppy here and there, but they're up a spot to 17. Beating the Broncos could give them a huge boost in the power rankings. Dolphins, yeah, it's a good win against the Niners. Important win, impressive win. Just real no room to move them up, looking at the teams that are ahead of them right now. But overall, a solid outing for the Miami Dolphins. 15, the Broncos going to go down 3 spots. Disappointing one against the Chargers. They had a pretty good lead and then definitely let it slip away. Bo Nix, last couple games, maybe not playing as well as he was the few or more games before that. The defense doesn't really seem quite the same as early in the season, but it's a good team. This is weird. I think the Broncos are a good team where I question, can they beat other really solid teams? Are they going to let those games slip away? So the tough one for them. They're down 3 spots to number 15, a big one. 15 versus 17, Broncos versus Bengals. That's a massive game this week. So really excited about that. Really excited about our pick show. 14, the Seahawks go down a spot. Honestly, they played the Vikings pretty well. I thought the Seahawks played well. They were very close to winning that game. It kind of came down to the end there. The defense played a lot better in the second half, but they kind of blew it on that one drive at the end. But in perfect world, they could have ran the ball better, but they played fairly well against a good team. So Seahawks still trying to fight to get in the playoffs. They're down a spot to 14. 13, the Chargers go up 2 spots. A big win against the Broncos. A big come from behind. I mean, not big by the margin of victory, but big, just massive impact win for possibly for making the playoffs here as they are on path to, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, I felt like the Chargers and the Broncos, they're kind of the same team right now. Like, they're good teams. Can they beat other good teams? So, that, I mean, it's big for the Chargers to be 2-0 against the Broncos there. They were still pretty sloppy before that game, so we can't move them up a ton, but they go up 2 spots, 13. Texans go down a spot, put up a good fight with the Chiefs. It felt like I liked where their momentum was at until Tank Dell got injured. I mean, that touchdown was huge, but then once the other players knew he was injured, everything kind of went south from there. So that was a tough one there. And now they're limited at receiver, and they got to play the Ravens on Christmas, so it'll be pretty tough. They're down a spot to number 12. The Bucs, disappointing one against the Cowboys. Can't let that one slip away. They're down a spot, though. They've been hot recently. I mean, they destroyed the Chargers the week ago, so can't punish them too much here. I blame coaching for that loss against the Cowboys. Understand who you're playing. Understand the matchup issues that are for the Cowboys that are in your favor. Cowboys are pretty good against the pass with their pass rush, with the way their secondary is coached. They struggle against running backs. The Buccaneers came out throwing the ball more than they were running the ball, and every time Bucky Irving ran the ball, things were great. They could not stop him. And I know they were playing from down, but it wasn't like panic mode until the very, very end. It wasn't panic mode, throw. And they were acting like it was. So if they would have just stuck to the ground game, the run game, they would have won this game. So I blame coaching fully. And the players made some mistakes here and there. They had a brutal drop early. And then that interception they let Jordan Lewis get was tough, but winnable game, disappointing, but they've been a hot team recently. They still are holding on to some good recent wins. Number 10, the Commanders are going to go up 4 spots. It's a big-time win against the Philadelphia Eagles. Come from behind win, overcoming all those turnovers. So impressed with a lot of things here, how explosive they are, the ability to not get down after turnovers, being able to come back and win, just Jaden Daniels overcoming things. I mean, that's what makes a good quarterback. Like, there's going to be turnovers. There were some bad ones. There's going to be some turnovers, but can you make the plays to put your team in position to win the football game? And he's done that consistently, really. So impressed there. Maybe they were a little fortunate. Jalen Hurts goes down early. They still had to come from behind, and there was more injuries than just that, but they still had to come from behind. They still had to dig themselves out of a hole. They still win with 5 turnovers, so they'll go up 4 spots to number 10. The Commanders have been a little sketchy, some of these games, even the ones that they're winning recently. So they're an interesting team right now, but they are back in the top 10. And there's the Rams staying put at number 9. Defense has been playing the last couple of weeks, better the last couple of weeks. That's kind of what they needed because you were kind of starting to worry about the defense. See if the offense can get something more going. I think the cold kind of affected them, but teams been running up on the Jets recently, so I wish they had a little more offense in that one. But they still been kind of on a roll here, so they are at number 9. Steelers are going to remain in the top 8. They're going to go down a spot to the Ravens. It was a disappointing outing. I do think it could have been a different game if it wasn't for that Russ fumble on a good scramble, and the Russ pick 6 kind of did them in. So our team's starting to properly game plan for a Russ Steelers team, because remember, he got thrown in there a little late, but it's been a bit still. They need Pickens back for Christmas. Let's see if they get that. It'll be a battle against the Chiefs. Again, weekly pick show will be earlier on Tuesday this week. Excited to see who we pick, and we'll have our normal content as well throughout the week. The Steelers are at 8. And there's the Ravens. They're starting to play better ball right now. It almost feels like they're better than number 7, but there's so many good teams, and there's so many good teams at the top here. So, and the teams in the top 6 have done just a little bit more over the last several weeks, but the Ravens, a very impressive, much-needed win against the Steelers, and Lamar Jackson struggled against the Steelers, in recent history, so it's good to see him having a good game, and the Ravens in general having a good game. The defense is playing much better than it was earlier in the year, even mid-season part of the year, so the Ravens are getting hot at the right time. They are number 7. The Packers are going to stay put at 6. This is kind of that time of the year where they play better football. So see how they do against the Vikings this week and into the playoffs, a team I got my eye on. I did pick them to win the Super Bowl before the year, and part of my prediction was them heating up here at playoff time. So we'll see if that happens. This was tough. The Eagles go down 4 spots, and you could say they were number 1. They moved down 4 spots because while their star quarterback got injured, and if Devontae Smith catches the ball, they win the game. Are they deserving of moving down 4 spots? And I definitely will understand that argument. It's just all these teams at the top, we're splitting hairs when dividing them up. They're all so close to the elite teams of football this year. They're the dominant teams of football this year. So one slight thing, one loss while the rest win will make the difference. So that's the tough part there with the Eagles. But the defense did not need, I mean, all those turnovers, and they still gave up all those yards and points. So that's kind of the thing I wondered with the Eagles, and I still am very high on their defense. I mean, a week ago, I just said it was the top two defenses battling it out. Eagles versus Steelers. The Eagles won that battle. Felt like they're the top defense, but I have been wondering like how their defense went from the worst, basically, in football at the end of the year last year, maybe not exactly, but close, to the best this year. Is it going to hold through the playoffs at the end of the year? Is it our team's going to game plan for it? And the Commanders did a pretty good job despite the turnover, so it's something to watch with the Eagles. And then can they stay healthy? I'm not really worried about, it's not like a concussions long-term for Jalen Hurts. But they are at number 5 as all these other teams are winning, and they just lost. It's, I know, an unfortunate, unlucky. But the Vikings will stay put at 4. A little bit of a scare against the Seahawks, but they're so clutch. They're so good at pulling off these games. I think they were a little sloppy in this game, actually. It felt like they were missing on a lot of routine plays on second and third and 6 and 7, around that range, which they're usually really good at. Just drops or slightly off target throughout this game, and they could not extend drives. So they were definitely off, but then they figured it out and found a way to win. So when things aren't going their way, they figured out a way, so that's kind of a good look for them. But, if they play like that against the teams we're about to talk about, like in the playoffs, or if they somehow get to the Super Bowl, if they do get to the Super Bowl, that they play like that, they're not going to win. But very much impressed with them, their ability to close this season. The Lions will stay put at 3. Expected a good offense outing against the Bears, and they gave us that. For the most part, defense was all right early, but the Bears, had a lot of production on them, which the Bears have not been able to get that recently, but they are a little beat up on defense. But they're going to stay put at number 3. The question will be the defense, because as teams are starting to game plan more properly for their heavy man defense, plus all those injuries, mainly with the run defense. Like if their run defense gets affected by the injuries. And the pass defense was kind of just a thing because they're getting a little predictable, but there's the injuries as well. So will the defense hold up? That is the big question, but the offense most certainly will. Looks very, very explosive still. They are at number 3. The Chiefs are going to go up 3 spots to number 2. I was very much impressed with the Chiefs in the Texans game. I doubted them a little bit in that game because they've been barely getting by, and they're playing a good pass rush team, and there was moments where it felt like the Texans could win that game. The Tank Dell injury really hurt them, but you watch this game with the Chiefs, and it's kind of what we've been saying all year, but I think even to another level, it's just when they absolutely need to move the ball, when they absolutely need to get a first down, when they absolutely need to score, when they need to get a stop, get a turnover, they do it. They do it, and it's now we're at the point where they just do it, and they did it against a good team in this one. And another thing, at times throughout this year, it's like, do they need more weapons? They traded for Hopkins. It's like, it still feels a little underwhelming. But now, all of a sudden, Hollywood Brown's back. He made some catches. They got a running back trio that made plays. Hopkins makes plays. Kelsey makes plays. Xavier Worthy really making strides. He had a big-time game. He's starting to put some things on film that makes teams go, we got to worry about this, that, and that with all these guys. And again, they continue to make plays on defense as well. It's like, all right, the Chiefs, I feel like they just took another step. I really do. So they're up 3 spots, one of the best football teams there is. Not a surprise, how it always is. They're up 3 spots to number 2. And then we'll have the Bills at 1. Head-to-head's not everything, but a recent game where the Bills did pretty much completely outplay the Chiefs. They didn't destroy them and everything. That could split these two teams up. The Bills were a little sloppy against the Patriots. Took a little bit of time to get going, but they did pull it off. But they always have a weird game with the Patriots every year. They pulled it off. Had this at the end. It kind of felt like they were going to win this game. And then you kind of wonder throughout this game. You wonder what a lot of these juggernaut teams, these big time teams, are they trying to save stuff for the playoffs in games like that? It's actually smart to do. And then you actually hear, I don't know why he said it out loud, but you hear Josh Allen say it, that they're not going to show everything in their arsenal, basically. It's probably something you shouldn't say, but it's kind of what we figured. But that's it's not the end of the world that he said it. But, yeah, it's kind of one of those games where they were just trying to coast and just get by because, hey, we want to keep some things hidden in our back pocket for when it matters most. We don't want teams to be able to game plan for us. That's the toughest part about predicting playoffs. It's like which teams are exactly what they were in the regular season, they're what they are now, and which teams save things, because it's all about the game plan. Who has the better game plan? Coaching and preparing is way more of a factor in the playoffs, and that's what helps teams advance. But I think those teams that advance, then who has the best star players in the more key positions end up winning, in those big time games once you get there, conference title game, Super Bowl. So that's the thing. And I kind of had a feeling the Bills were one of those great teams that probably had a little bit more tricks up their sleeve. I feel like the Chiefs are that team. They kind of showed a little bit more this week. It's a big reason why I was high on the Packers going into the year. I think they're one of those teams. The Lions are a team you feel like they're showing all their cards all the time, but still difficult to stop. The Vikings are barely, not every game, but kind of clutching up at the end of games. So you kind of think they're showing a lot. I think what they have in their back pocket is if they possibly run the ball more when teams are unexpected, not expecting it. Eagles, I don't know if they're really hiding anything. Ravens are a team that fully, goes full go in the playoffs as well. Rams are typically a team that kind of McVay and company, they try to save some stuff. They kind of had to pull some of it out, down the stretch here to make sure they get in the playoffs. But that's always an interesting part about the playoff. It doesn't decide everything, obviously. It doesn't mean the Rams are going to go to the Super Bowl again because they're saving stuff, but for an example. But I feel like the Texans were a team that kind of had some things in their back pocket, but now Diggs already down, Tank Dell down. I think Schultz has been extremely disappointing. Offensive line's been disappointing, but I feel like that's a team that could have some things in their back pocket, and there's always those surprise teams. So it's that interesting time of the year. Playoffs on the line. Who's going to make it? Who's going to make that push in the playoffs? Who's going to win that Super Bowl? We'll have you covered along the way, every step of the way, full NFL coverage. So join us, like, subscribe, to notifications on. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.